Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's time for Quest, the adventure game podcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Jess. I'm coming in hot.
Yeah, coming in hot. So this is Quest, the adventure game podcast, where we talk all things large and small about adventure games, and occasionally Family Guy, and occasionally whatever else is on the top of our heads. Uh, uh, Jess,
Yes.
what have you been playing lately?
Wow, we're jumping right in. What have I
I'm
been
jumping right
playing?
into it.
Well, we get constant emails and texts.
Well, we only have one
and,
email,
yeah.
questpodcast@gmail.com. But as of now, I've only been able to play this song once.
Our email song. That's right. Well, we still don't have an email, so turn it off. Kill it. Kill the song. I mean, it's weird. Like, we're only getting faxes right now, which I didn't even know we had a number, but but no, all the faxes are saying you guys take like 25 minutes before you start talking about adventure games.
Yeah.
So what I've been playing is an adventure game, Ben.
What? We usually talk about something else right here.
Well, this is where I slide one in on you.
Whoa.
This is me. Wow. Well, the boo birds are out.
I'm still amazed by that phrase, but continue. Is that
the
like a West Virginia thing? Because
no, that's like
I picked on you about this already.
Yes, that's like a Pat Summerall thing, like the
I don't even know who that is. Oh.
He was John Madden. You know, your old friend John Madden.
Well, I know him. He's video games.
Yeah, John Madden's broadcast partner for many years was the very like serious Pat Summerall, and occasionally
he was serious, but he said "boo birds." That's not that serious.
When there would be booing in the stadium, he would occasionally say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the boo birds are out." So
is that like a pun on bluebirds?
Yes, I think it's a pun on bluebirds.
But it's not really.
Yes.
all right. First
He's
off,
the poet laureate of the National Football League. What are you talking about?
I do want to note here that I'm not a sports ball guy, because I do care very much for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know anything at all about football.
I bring all the jock energy to the podcast. That was actually the dynamic we really wanted to play out. You know, it's like,
well, you played football in high school.
I did. I played football in high school pretty successfully.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was.
Is that one of your 6 concussions?
First of all, I think it's like 7 or 8, but I forget. And it's only two of them, sadly. The others are just from living on the planet. But what I've been playing, Ben, adventure game time. I'm talking adventure games before the 20-minute mark, a first for us.
Yeah.
I've been playing Life is Strange, double exposure, and it's really good so far. I'm like an hour or so in. I love Life is Strange. We'll eventually talk a lot about Life is Strange.
Yeah.
I would think that's an episode at some point.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I like, yeah. So this is interesting. And I didn't watch your stream, because I think I'll probably pick up the game at some point, because I do love that first Life is Strange game.
Yeah, you probably want to play it yourself. It's going to spoil it. Yeah, to watch it. Yeah.
And I remember, so the original Life is Strange, I remember buying it in a Steam sale. And I had no idea, like, just had heard it's like, oh, there's this game and it's supposed to be good. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And it was like, I was stuck to my computer. Like, it was because each episode, and this is true of Telltale games too, because and Life is Strange, if you're unfamiliar, is episodic, like Telltale games. And so that first one, and I'm sure this is true of all the Life is Stranges, ends like, everyone ends with a big, like, melodramatic cliffhanger.
Yes,
like
melodramaculous.
Huge cliffhanger, and you're like, oh no. And so I had to keep playing, because it really got me every single time. And so, did you play the prequel to the first one, or just?
I played the prequel. I played Life is Strange, which is The Storm, I suppose. Life is Strange Before the Storm, and now I'm playing Life is Strange After the Storm, or Double Exposure, as they chose to call it.
So how do you feel? Because I was skeptical first off. I was because they made Life is Strange an anthology series after that. Like
Yes.
the Life is Strange 2 is about
Mhm.
completely different characters. Maybe, but to my understanding, and maybe there's a reference, I think.
Yeah, I think there might be. I think some. I mean, like a very like fleeting reference, as I understand. I actually haven't played Life is Strange 2 or
And
True
then there's True
Colors.
Colors, yeah, which is
Yeah.
also a separate story.
hmm One, at least one of them, I think, references the characters from the original, but I don't think it's something they linger on. And there's
Right.
nothing better, right, than things that are supposed to be anthologies, but
That
the first
become
season
yeah.
pops off in such a way, or in this case, it's like they thought we're going to go forward with this anthology idea, but nobody is as excited about as they were Max and Chloe, so we're going to go back to that well.
I feel like I can expound on this, and if we're gonna do a full episode on Life is
Okay,
Strange, I
that's
should
right.
probably bite my tongue.
That's right.
Uh,
Let's both bite our tongues. And while I'm biting my tongue, Ben, could you unbite your tongue and tell me
mm,
what you've been playing?
mhm, mhm.
No, Ben,
Oh,
unbite first.
oh, okay. Well, what I've been playing is the exciting game of upgrading my Steam Deck.
Yes, this is the
Uh,
ultimate stakes in this
this is
game.
the ultimate stakes. Now, I want to. So, I'm aware if you're listening to this, you're probably a nerd, and you're probably like, swapping out a hard drive on a Steam Deck is like rolling out of bed. It's the
Yeah,
easiest thing in the world. I could do it with no problem. Not a problem. No, nothing to see here except success. Well, that is not the case for me. A guy that is terrified of any of that. But there was a 2 terabyte Steam Deck hard drive on sale, and I was like, and I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I was like, oh, those YouTube guys make it look so easy,
they're
and
so confident.
they're so confident, and one of them was very handsome,
Well, I
and
mean, handsome
yeah,
people, yeah,
and they're
I will listen
often
to a handsome
stupid.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and and I was like, "Ah, that handsome guy, he's like, oh, it's so easy," and I was just like, well, if it's easy for him, it must be easy for me. Like you just pop it out and you push the button, and then it's a hard drive. Uh, and then like just fast forward to the hard drive arrives, and I take out like this dust covered toolbox that I have in the corner. I open it up and I like kind of eyeball the screws. First mistake. And
hmm
like immediately just start stripping the screws.
I crank those things.
Uh
Yeah,
uh
really crank them.
and then like I realize it's like, all right, well, this is already a terrible idea. I don't have any of the like I didn't have the I did have the correct screwdrivers, but for whatever reason, the like my toolbox had like swappable like bits for the
hmm
screwdriver, and none of them were labeled. So like you need a specific like a Torx screwdriver for the OLED Steam Deck, and uh, I was like looking at them and squinting, and I'm like, well, these all look like small little screwdriver heads. These all look right. And so I was just staring at them. And then I ended up just going to a hardware store and purchasing a labeled set of Torx screwdrivers, which was actually turned out to be good because there were also the ones with light magnetism on
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
that so you can pull them out, which without that it would have been
Mhm.
impossible because those screws are like tiny.
Ben, let me ask you a question because
Yeah.
I know how we've approached this problem. When you went to the hardware store,
Hmm.
did you take your Steam Deck along with you in case you had to
I have a
physically
great
show somebody the screw holes and say, what goes in this? Because that's what I would need to do.
Well, fortunately, you can just look that up. Fortunately, you can
Okay.
look up that it says Torx T5. But
I would just
it,
show it to like the greeter at Home
yeah,
Depot and just say, what do I need for this?
yeah, what I ended up doing was like, so hit this point of absolute frustration, and I was like, you know what? I can just call up the Micro Center computer desk, just have them do this. They repair laptops. This is essentially a laptop. They can open it up and just swap it out, and will take like 20
hmm
minutes. I'll pay them whatever money. They could just do this. So I get on the live chat and like wait for a guy, and it's like, hey, can I bring my Steam Deck here so you can swap the hard drive? And the guy goes, it's not that hard. You can use YouTube.
Oh no. He's
And
like,
then
I know
I'm
this
just like,
great
well,
handsome guy who has
yeah,
videos on how to do this. You should.
yeah. Have you heard of this handsome guy?
He's great. You'll love
Yes.
him. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's heard of the handsome guy. Look, I'm way past the handsome guy already. Yeah.
And so I was like, and that was when I realized that was just like, well, and I've already like relied on my tech savvy friends to like fix certain things on my computer. So I've already cashed in those
Yeah.
chips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've already had my friends, like a friend of mine replace the cooling system on my desktop. And
Mhm.
so I can't cache like, and that was very finicky and difficult. And so I can't like that was already like you've cashed that favor in, my friend. And so like I was just like, all right, well, either I just have this hard drive, like this tiny little Steam Deck hard drive that just sits on my desk, and I look at it from time to time and go, yeah, if only I had the skills, or I can do this.
Mhm. And you
And
chose not to.
I did it.
You did it.
I bought the correct screwdrivers, and then I like bought like a iFixit kit that had like
Mhm.
appropriate stuff to open up the thing. It was essentially just a guitar pick. I could have gone to Guitar Center and purchased one for like, 50 cents. Uh, but I did it, and then like the next toughest part was pulling the battery cable out because it was
Yeah.
very that's always the most terrifying. Have you ever done anything like in a computer like where you have to like pull something and it's staying put, and
Yes,
you're like, if
absolutely.
I apply any pressure, I'm breaking
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I hate seating cards into any kind of like
Yep.
PCI slot because it's like I know I need to push harder, but I'm going to push and a piece of plastic's just going to go flying in the wrong direction. And same thing with pulling cables. It's just
Yep.
like this clearly does not want to be pulled out, and I am absolutely going to break this if I attempt to.
Well, there was like this little like fabric around like the cables, and I
Hmm.
as I was pulling harder and harder, I just saw like the fabric like riding up. So it's like I'm
Oh
pulling, and like the cables
no!
are just remaining seated on the motherboard, and I'm like,
Mhm.
if I pull this so hard, I might snap the little battery holder thing off of the motherboard, and then I'm just fucked. And
Yes.
so I'm just like staring at this, and then like, and I watch, and I keep looking up on YouTube more and more. Like I watched like
Hmm.
5 or 6 different, and I'm just typing in battery cable difficult, and they're like,
Reddit.
use a spudger, just use a spudger to ease it out. And I'm like, I don't know what any I
Listen, a spudger's not a thing, is it?
until I started. It is a thing. Until I had to do this, I had no idea what a spudger is, and now I have a spudger, and I still don't know what it is.
Ben,
It's
I
like a
think
little
you're
plastic. It's a stylus.
I
It's
think
like a
you're
little
punking me
plastic
right
thing.
now. Who are you, Ashton Kutcher? Because I think you're punking me with the existence
Ashton
of something called
Kutcher, a
wait, not
spudger.
okay, spudger. I had the wrong vowel sound there for a second. That wouldn't have been as good. But yeah, that doesn't sound real. I'm sorry.
But anyway, what ended up happening was I ended up finding a YouTube where the guy's like, "This is going to be really stuck in there. Just don't be
That's all
afraid
you
to."
need to hear.
He was like, "Don't be afraid to give it a good tug." And I was like, you know what? I'm just like I was just so like I didn't know what else to do, so I just like yanked it and it came out and I didn't snap anything. I am not advising anyone to do this. This was a bad decision I made on my own accord. Don't listen to me. But
Don't
that's
try
what
this
worked.
at home.
But that's what worked for me. And then like and that was the hardest thing. Everything else was like you just pop out the hard drive and then you just pop a new one in, and then everything else like then you just do everything in reverse, and it's a million times easier. Now the worst thing is that it's like if I have to replace anything else in my Steam Deck, I'm like, I know how to do this now. And that's the worst part is that I hated,
Ooh,
and I whined and complained about this to anyone that would listen. Like I was just crying and like, like just kind of making a big fuss about it. Maybe hoping that someone would be like, Ben, I'll just do it. But I complained and I complained and I complained, and then I was like, and then I sent out to the group chat, I did it. I replace the hard drive. And now I feel invulnerable.
You are a hero to me. I know
Yeah.
you complained about this in our chat a little bit
Yeah. It
about
was
the nerves
horrible.
and everything, and I was like feeling for you because I think I sent you a screenshot I had in my notes app on my
Yeah.
phone. Just like literally the last time I had to move my computer from one room to another, I
Yeah.
was so afraid I wouldn't be able to get all the USB stuff hooked up in the way that doesn't cause my computer to lag horribly again. So I had like literal narrative notes on how to just plug my USB cables into the right ports again, and photos of what it looked like before I disassembled it. So
It's
that's
so
the
funny.
level of like worry I'm working from. The idea of taking my computer apart. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I bought that new video card a few months ago that was like the, you know,
Oh yeah.
for like the 4070 super whatever RTX that came out.
Right.
Bought it like on pre-order, had to work hard to get through that queue. Um, Seeded it into my computer and realized that my power supply didn't
Yep.
have the
Yep.
right number of cables running from it. And probably that's something that's easily fixable. It had enough power. It just didn't have the right
More
cables.
power. Huff 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 huff.
Yes. But that was enough for me that I was just like, I give up. This has gotten too scary. I didn't like it already because I had to push it harder than I was comfortable with. Threw that sucker back in the box, dropped it off, shipped it right back, got my hundreds and hundreds of dollars back, and now I'm shopping for a new computer, so I never have to open mine again.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a moment during 2020 where I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll build my next computer. Like that seems like the cool guy thing to do. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big nerd.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
big
yeah.
nerd. Cool nerds do not buy a computer. They build a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then like at the time like graphics cards cost like an absurd amount because everyone was trying to mine crypto and all that crap. And so like I realized that actually buying a pre-build was more reasonable.
Yes.
So I did that, and now this whole ordeal with my Steam Deck, I'm like, oh yeah, I would absolutely not in a million years. Anyway, don't get a computer, don't get a Steam Deck,
Computers are a big mistake. Just get a GameCube
just get a
and you'll be
GameCube.
fine. Again,
Just
first of
get
all,
a
it's portable.
GameCube.
It's got a handle, Ben. If you need to go somewhere with your
Yeah,
GameCube, I mean, what does it take you to move your computer somewhere?
it's got a handle.
Yeah.
You
And not,
bring it
yeah,
to a
yeah.
friend.
You can't even take your Steam Deck places anymore because they're just cables hanging out of it
Yeah,
everywhere.
you can't take your Steam Deck anywhere because it woke.
That's right. Woke.
Yeah, just constantly. It wasn't for the GameCube, but I did play on my Wii Broken Sword
Mm-hmm.
remastered, which brings us to today's theme. I not only did I play it on my Wii, I played it on my Game Boy Advance.
Wow.
Today's theme, we're going to be talking about adventure games on consoles. We're going to be covering that is such a big and
Yes.
broad topic. And so we're just going to be
Covering it
slicing into,
comprehensively.
yeah, we're
3
going to be
hours.
covering it extremely comprehensively.
Yeah.
And in a way that you'll be so amazed.
Because we've done our homework.
We've done our homework. But we're just going to talk about the ones that we've played, both ports as well as console originals that we played. And we were also discussing before this. We'll probably we'll probably revisit this and play some of the classics. But Jess, please take it away. You had
All right.
something you
Actually,
want to
I
talk
am
about.
very glad that we're touching on this topic finally because I've been a little obsessed with adventure games on consoles lately. And Ben, I want to kick us off with a question. I'm not sure I know the answer to this, so I'm curious to hear what you think.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, why don't adventure games work on consoles? Is it the hardware or is it the demographic? What do you think?
I think it's neither. Um,
Okay, well, there you go.
I think adventure games do work on consoles. I think it's that point and click adventures aren't a good fit.
Ah,
for consoles. I think like console games that are explicitly devised and thought of specifically as a uh an adventure for the console is is good. If you are trying to make a PC style or like just a desktop style adventure game on your console, you're going to run into problems.
I think this is right. I think that, I mean, at a very just like mechanical level, I think that to make an adventure game really work well on a console, it needs to be built from the ground up with controllers in mind at the
Yeah,
bare minimum, right? I mean
yeah.
that's like step one. If you're having to navigate with like an analog stick to find an icon, click it, and then move your analog stick back somewhere else to like simulate the pointing and clicking of a mouse, that's
Mhm.
already a mistake. You've
Right.
already kind of blown it at that point.
Absolutely. Uh yeah, I think you look at so let's go back to the Nintendo Entertainment System.
The NES,
Yeah.
okay.
I only called it the Nintendo Entertainment System.
I
Mother,
just
mother.
called it a Nintendo. It was
No,
just because we didn't
no,
know there would be more at the time.
no. I called it the Nintendo. That's the official title. Mother,
Well,
mother,
yeah,
please. I did all of my chores and my homework. Can I please play on the Nintendo Entertainment System for 30 minutes?
yeah. If you want to guess which one of us is on Nintendo's payroll, I'm willing to tell it like it is. Back when we were
At the
kids,
Sega Master System.
we just called them Bing Bong machines, and that's what
That's what your
everybody.
dad called them. How
Okay,
dare you?
that is what my dad called video games.
Yeah.
All of them were Bing Bong machines. The games themselves were Bing Bongs. And to this day, like when I'm like going to excuse myself from the room to go play a little video game or something, I tell my wife, I'm gonna go in the other room and Bing Bong for a little while.
Does your daughter say that now?
She will not, because she's at a stage where anything that I say is now the least cool thing she can imagine.
Mm.
So I couldn't convince her to say Bing Bong if I paid her in V bucks.
Wow. All right. Well, that's fair.
Tough but fair.
Tough but fair. Now, so for the Nintendo Entertainment System, uh,
NES.
the there are let's talk about two games that I know you've played. One of which you've streamed. I don't think you've streamed both of these, but that are ports.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about King's Quest V for the
King's
Nintendo
Quest
Entertainment
Five.
System?
Now, this, I think, I mean, on the one hand, it makes the mistake we've already said. You're bringing a control scheme basically from
Yeah.
PC straight to the console.
Right.
You've made some concessions in the form of
Some pretty big concessions.
well, now, I mean, who's to say big concessions like to the controller? But I mean, here's the thing. I want to go on record. First of all, I'm a King's Quest Five fan. I know that's a controversial statement from the jump.
Mm.
King's Quest Five isn't as bad as everyone says it is. We all loved it back when it came out. This is weird, just retroactive disliking of King's Quest Five. But beyond that,
Wow.
King's Quest Five for the NES, ugly as sin at times with
It
its
is.
tile-based graphics.
It looks like Jackson Pollock doing puke art.
It kind of looks like that thing that would happen when a Nintendo cartridge would like not load properly right before you
Oh
like blow into it, and
yeah.
you've just got like some weird tiles that have shown up on screen. But let me
Right.
say this. The NES version of King's Quest V, which I think a lot of people are either unaware of or maybe have never played, is a remarkable feat in the sense that it crams every last little bit of King's Quest V onto the NES, which should not be possible in any way.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point here is that it's very impressive
Yes, it's
that
from
they
Konami.
put
Konami made
a
this thing.
full computer adventure game, which King's Quest V's whole deal was that it was their first 256 color game
Hmm.
using the whole crayon box. Has this beautiful hand drawn look. Also has this point and click like interface.
Lush soundtrack.
And what if we put it on a machine where it can't display nearly as many colors, can't hit that type of music, and it's on a controller with a D-pad and 4 buttons, 2 of which are primarily used for play. The other 2 are mostly for menu. Uh, like it's it's an impressive feat, but
Yes.
is like, is it fun to play?
Is it fun to play?
Can you imagine? Do you have if that was how you first played King's Quest V?
Whew.
Would you be like, I want to check out 1 through 4?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to imagine. I feel like, I mean, we've talked before about how I think sometimes adventure games are a little impenetrable to people who aren't already into the genre a little bit. You know, it's hard to sometimes jump in. And I think that King's Quest V, if you had no point of reference for what a Sierra game or what an adventure game was like, playing that on the NES, like picking that up at Blockbuster on a Friday and being like, I'm going home this weekend having a sleepover and my friends are all going to come over and play King's Quest V. Like, that's not a good sleepover. You're not a popular kid anymore.
Yeah,
You're not like that kid you went to school with who was like, you think?
No, 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 not cool like VJ.
But no, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's good, but it's unbelievable that it exists. I mean, Sierra
it
allegedly,
is fascinating.
like, was scared to death of the console market, right? They nearly lost their shirts
Yep,
back during, I mean, that's how you get that cover for soft porn, was they had lost their shirts at the time.
that's
And
right.
yeah,
It would
in
have
the
just
cartridge
been
market.
it would have just been them sitting in a hot tub with full clothes.
That's how I sit in hot tubs
Yeah,
because, modest. I'm a modest guy,
you're a
but
modest, you're a modest man.
that's what they say. That's what they
Mhm.
say about me. But yeah, I mean, they lost their shirts nearly in the cartridge market before the big video game crash in the early 80s. And I think Ken Williams was gun shy of it. I would love to know. I've never heard anyone at Sierra ever talk about this port because they didn't work on it. But
Is
what
this in
possessed them?
the? Do you know if it's brought up in in Sean Mills's book, The Sierra Adventure
That's a
Begin
good
Life?
question. I
Because that's
know
a
it.
fairly
It
thorough history,
yeah.
to my understanding.
I know it is not in Ken Williams's book, but I'd have to go back and check out Sean's again to see if it shows up in there. But I would love to know more about it because, yeah, I mean, Konami working on this is such a weird partner for
Yeah.
Sierra. And I mean, again, they did what should have been impossible. Does it look good? No, not really. I mean, what it needs
How does it
is,
control?
how does it control? Not very well. No, not at all. If
But
you're asking how it sounds or how it plays, I mean, here's the problem. You strip
right.
away all the aesthetics from King's Quest V, and you are left with the gameplay of King's Quest V, which is not its strong suit necessarily. I mean, you do have some nice concessions, like, the thing where you have to throw the boot at the cat, and if you miss it, just
Mhm.
like King Graham's family dies and he never sees them again.
Yeah.
You get multiple shots at that on the NES
Oh,
version. So you can keep
it's
throwing
because
that
it's
boot.
impossible. It's
It's because it's
impossible.
literally impossible. You'll
Yeah.
never move the cursor over there on your first try, so forget about it.
So let me tell you one interesting thing about King's Quest for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is
Yes.
that because it was released on the NES, that meant that there was a walkthrough for it, or at least for parts of it, including a maze of the desert that was in, I believe, but it might have been in something else, a Nintendo Power, which we had.
I believe this is correct. I believe this
And
was a Nintendo Power.
so when my brother and I were playing King's Quest V back in, I don't know, 1991 or whatever, uh, we would refer to the Nintendo Power walkthrough.
Oh
And
no.
here's the thing is that
Oh no.
I believe that the desert maze is slightly different.
Yeah.
And so we had, like, it was like, wait a minute. No, wait, no. there's supposed to be an Oasis now.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's kind of the kind of thing that you can figure out if you just sit there with a pen and paper, which we've established this. This is something we've discussed. This is settled law in Quest. I do not do any of this with pen and paper.
No, I will never. I have principles that I live by, and one of them is I'm never going to map anything.
I'm a principled man. You can't put that pen in my hand. I will throw it back.
Absolutely. I will jab it into your arm before I'm going to sit down and
That's
map
right.
out an adventure game.
That's
I'm
right.
a grown adult. I
Right.
shouldn't have to map things.
No, absolutely not. I don't have to solve a puzzle by writing anything down. It has to be, if I don't solve it in 2 seconds by mashing every inventory item with each other, then it's a bad game.
It's a bad game, and I'm mad at the designer, and I'm going to
Yeah,
harass them on social media if they are
that's right.
still around.
Okay,
That's why Jim Walls isn't on social media anymore. I
that's right.
harassed him straight off of it.
No, yeah, if Jim Walls was on social media, I would send him praise every day.
That's true. We love Jim
Uh,
Walls here at the podcast. Yeah, but I'm going. Ben, let me mess up your plan
okay.
here, because I think a lot of the things that King's Quest V does wrong in making the leap to console,
Uh huh.
strangely enough, King's Quest One, when they bring it to the Sega
This
Master
is
System,
fascinating to me.
I think they do it right. I think
They
there
do.
they turn it into a console game. Like, it's not weird tile graphics where it's like, we're going to figure out how to make this look like a 256 color high res game using the limited palette of the NES.
You're
For
right.
Sega Master System, it's just going to be like, we're going to make this look like a Sega Master System game,
Right.
only it's going to be King's Quest.
Well, the Sega Master System, like that had better graphic capability than the NES. So already, like the Master System port of King's Quest One has two good things going for it. One is that it looks good,
Yes.
and part of that is because it's also not porting a game that is this gorgeous hand-drawn 256 color thing. It's porting a game that was 16 colors. So they can
Right.
actually, like, I think the master was the Master System. I don't know how many colors it could display, but I mean it looks good. It's a good
It
looking
does.
port.
Absolutely. And it plays a little better. It has a nice little, like, context sensitive verb menu that whatever you're
It is
standing
so
near,
cool.
it works well. Like, whatever you're standing near, it gives you a list of applicable verbs for it that you just scroll up and down on a menu and hit your button. You move the character around just the D pad. So it actually makes a lot of concessions to the platform it's on. And as a result, I think it is again, it's almost a one-to-one conversion. The map is the same, the puzzles are the same. It has less description dialogue. Like, the dialogue is very sparse in it. But otherwise, it's King's Quest 1 basically. And yeah, by trying to keep it, you know, like it felt at home on the console rather than something that you dragged onto the console kicking and screaming, which is maybe the feeling of King's Quest V. I think it's a much more successful project.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's more
that
fun to play.
yeah, I well, and I think that's a big thing about it is that because if you look at King's Quest 5, uh it kind of imitates like the interface of of the original, whereas the Master System version kind of does that a little bit. Like, I mean, it does because you're doing like this word mashup thing, but it's not
Yeah.
having you like type up stuff.
Right. It's not having you type up stuff. It's not having you drag a cursor all over the screen constantly or anything terrible
Right.
like that. No,
I
it's
think the cursor is I think maybe the worst part.
cursor is where things fall apart with these ports,
Yeah.
or games that originate on consoles too. It's when you try to do the cursor. I mean, cursors are just made for the mouse, and once you lose the mouse, a cursor is the worst thing you could possibly have.
A cursor is the worst. Er,
Or
yeah.
cursed by a cursor. What a
Uh,
horrible night to have a cursor. There it is. Okay, and then let's go to straight to that one on the actual broadcast.
yeah.
Or are we doing this live?
Um, what do you think? I didn't play very much of it. Did you play very much of the NES Maniac Mansion?
Yeah, I've actually played this one start to finish. Ben, I think this is the only version of Maniac Mansion I've ever played.
What?
Yeah, I think so. I streamed it like maybe first 2 or 3 months that I was streaming on Twitch. And before that, I have vivid memories of renting it to take over to my friend JP's house one weekend. I didn't have an NES, he did.
Mm.
And I read Maniac Mansion. And once again, I want to stress I got nowhere in it. Maniac Mansion is a game that confuses and frightens me. But
It's a pretty tough game.
it is. And it was too tough for me at like age 8 or 9 or whenever I played it.
Uh-huh. Were you excited as a little, like, as an adventure game fan at that age? Were
I
you
don't even know.
excited? Like, was it like, oh wow, this is like a game that I play on my Tandy?
I don't even know at the time,
Oh,
like
this
renting it.
is little nerd Jess. Oh wow.
Oh, hey, it's like one of my Tandy games.
This is
Yeah.
just like a game on my IBM PC compatible.
Yes, that I play in my bedroom. When I go bing bong. Yeah. So what did I don't even know if I realized at the time. Like most rentals, I probably just thought the box looked cool. Like I
Mhm.
had no context whatsoever who Lucasfilm Games was at the time. I
Yeah,
don't
but you
even
watched the Maniac Mansion, you know, comedy show on
Well,
the
Ben,
Family
you know
Channel.
that I played the young boy on that, and it's weird that you bring it up like that. It's I watched it from the set. I mean, our
Oh,
listeners know about that. We had an whole episode where I was talking about, I did commentary on a bunch of the episodes. But yeah, as one of the stars of Maniac Mansion, yeah, of course I was aware of it, but I don't think I connected it to the video game because nothing about that show has anything to do with the video game. All that
well,
being
kind of.
well,
It's
kind of.
I I've watched a full episode
Mm-hmm.
of I've watched a full episode of the Maniac Mansion Canadian show, bafflingly done, co-created by Eugene Levy, which is uh very strange.
In a lot of ways, Schitt's Creek is like a spiritual successor to the Maniac Mansion show.
Oh, for sure. And you want to know what? It's better than you think it would be, but that's all I got to say about it. Back to the NES game.
Yes. No, this is the version I played, and what I like about it. I mean, I got nowhere with it as a kid. It's not a good rental game. You aren't going to figure that thing out in a weekend, especially if you have a short attention span. But when I came back to it years and years later, what I do like about it is the soundtrack. It has rockin' music
It
kind of
has
all the way
music for
through.
every single character, which is crazy.
Right. As opposed to the PC, Commodore, whatever sort of computer versions, which are all very silent games. Like
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
has
those early
the
LucasArts games.
theme and like a little bit of music, but really not that
Yeah,
much.
you may get some green tentacle music at some
Yeah.
point and some bits like that. But yeah, I mean, I like that NES version. There is I don't know which emulator it is, but there's a way that you can
Nesticle.
actually, is that the one that plays with a
Mhm.
mouse? I usually like to say
No,
Nesticle.
I was just saying Nesticle.
Okay.
I think Scum VM doesn't Scum VM
Oh,
support
does it add mouse
the
support
NES?
to
I
it?
think it does.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Which I feel like that's the best of both worlds. I think the NES version of that looks fantastic. Again, it's a game that is well within the palette of the NES. I mean, it's doable there. But yeah, I mean, the controls there are a little difficult because you're back to Cursor Town, right? Am I correct? That
You're the one that played it. I never have.
Yeah, I mean, I've only played the Scum
I
VM
think
version
it
of it. And
has I think it is a cursor controlled by
yeah.
the NES
Mhm.
controller. Which this is interesting. So it's I've as I spoke about on another podcast, I've been playing a lot of UFO 50, and that has a throwback like 8-bit style console adventure game in it.
Ooh.
Night Manor. Have you seen any of that?
I've heard talk of Nightmare, but I've not seen it played.
It's great. It is a
Yeah.
very good version of an original, and it does. And you want to know what? It does have a cursor, but
Okay.
it isn't like it kind of moves fast enough,
Mhm.
and like it's okay. It's okay. Like the it's also I think maybe a bit of the cursor problem with something like a Maniac Mansion or something is that you have to cursor down to the verb and then all the way back up again,
Yeah,
and then you
that's
have
what
to
always gets you.
yeah, so Night Manor on UFO 50 is in that style, and that is like it's a very good implementation, and it has the fake cursor that you do have to control with your gamepad. So
So
that's kind of fun.
maybe my
Uh,
thesis is incorrect. Maybe
well,
that's
well, I mean that's also a game released and made in 2024. Like,
right.
what? All right. So neither of us have played, and so we could talk about this perhaps in the future. Neither of us have ever played Deja Vu or Shadowgate, which I know have their fans. And if you've played them and you enjoyed them, shoot us an email at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. Uh, but there is a original adventure game that you've played that I'm fascinated by,
Okay.
Jess, which is for the Genesis.
Oh wow, we're hopping to the 16-bit
Yeah,
era.
unless there's something else for the NES that you wanted to talk about.
No, I think we are heading in the right direction right now
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure you want to talk about Scooby Doo mysteries.
Yes.
And this is a bonkers
It's
game that
so
I
weird.
love dearly.
So strange.
It's so strange. I mean, let me set this up for all y'all who may not know this. First of all, it has blast processing, and that's what makes it so good.
When I've watched it, I was being blast processed
Yeah, I mean,
myself,
it was also
just as a
flavor
viewer.
blasted, which I
It
mean,
was
that's
also flavor blasted.
yeah,
Uh, it was
it-
blast cord. Trying to
yeah.
think of any other blast things I know.
But no, it's a Sega Genesis game. It is a point and click adventure starring Scooby Doo and the gang. And what is fascinating about it is first of all, it's two adventures in one. It has two like full adventure stories. That one of them is what is it? Blake's Hotel. It's like a
Yeah, set
spooky
at
haunted
a
hotel,
at a like a ski resort
like a
hotel.
ski lodge kind of
Yeah.
hotel thing with a mystery afoot. It's being haunted by a monster.
Mm.
And the second is Haha Carnival, which is exactly what it sounds like. It
Yep.
is a haunted carnival. And what's fascinating to me about this game, Ben, I think what captures
It's
everybody's
yeah, it
imagination when
is.
they see this.
Mhm.
Yeah, please go ahead. No.
It obviously is aping Day of the Tentacle. The people that made it saw Day of the Tentacle and said, "I want to make a Day of the Tentacle. I want to be a Day of the Tentacle maker."
I want to
And
Day of the Tentacle up with this game.
and and unfortunately, they were working at a company that made Genesis games, and somehow somebody was like, "Well, wait, we have the Scooby Doo license. We can make a Day of the Tentacle with Scooby Doo." And then they're like, "But this is a Genesis. It's a Genesis. We don't. You can't make Day of the Tentacle on the Genesis.
You
That's
have to make a
ridiculous."
Sonic. That's all we do.
And they said, "But what if we did?" And they did.
And the
You
thing
look
is, if
up.
you put it on Genesis, you can have blood. You can have
Yeah,
like a really
true.
bloody like Scooby Doo if you need it on Genesis.
It is. It is truly mind-boggling. I just do not understand.
No,
I
and
don't understand this. I
it
just
mostly
don't
works.
understand it.
I mean, the thing is, it looks
It looks
fantastic because,
great.
yeah, I mean, Day of the Tentacle looks great. And if you are going to like completely, to put politely, borrow its interface and borrow its unique art design and have all like the funky angles and everything else, it's like, yeah, your game's going to look pretty great if you pull that off because
How does it feel? How does because this has the cursor too. How does that feel?
it's a little clunky. I mean, the cursor gets in its way. It takes a game that you should probably be able to finish in an hour and makes it take closer to two to finish because you're
Is
fighting.
that per episode? Is that per
That's like total. You could probably play through this whole thing, both episodes, if you have a walkthrough in 2 hours. If you didn't have a walkthrough,
Probably
There's no
like
telling
4 or
how long you
5.
might take. Yeah, probably 4 or 5 without a walkthrough.
How are the puzzles? What did you think of the puzzles?
The puzzles are kind of like middling adventure game puzzles. Like there's nothing that particularly leaps out, but there's also no moon logic. Like most of it is solvable if you're paying attention. There are a few points where I had to make some leaps, but I mean it's not bad. But it looks great. It sounds great. I mean, there's one scene, but I think this is the one that sold me out immediately as the Day of the Tentacle inspiration. There's a hallway in the hotel
Yes,
that
yes,
just looks like
yes.
the upstairs in Day of the Tentacle. I mean, it almost looks like you've just taken that and repainted it in the Genesis palette, and now it's for Scooby Doo and Shaggy. Um, but I mean, where it really falls flat is you're playing like the gang splits up, if you can imagine the mystery incorporated gang, and you're playing as Scooby and Shaggy, but really you're only playing as Shaggy. You go
Right.
around and you
Does
do
Scooby do anything? Like, is he like a Max? Can you
no,
use him on things?
yeah, the Genesis Scooby don't in this case.
Right.
It just, yeah, he just follows you around. He doesn't even max really because he's not like quipping or doing any of his signature Scooby Doo bits, like where Shaggy's in the middle of trying to solve the mystery and Scooby Doo's just like pooping on the floor and stuff like in the cartoon that you see all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That is
the
something that he does.
yeah, the signature Scooby bits. None of that's happening. No, he just kind of stands there and walks around. And occasionally he'll go investigate stuff, but not in like a here's a hint way. It's more just he'll walk somewhere and start like sniffing around.
Great.
Which is, I wonder if that was the intent. Like if he was supposed to be like a little hint system that then became too
That
difficult to
must have
program.
been it. That must have been it. I mean, yeah, like, I wonder how much that they wanted to do and then couldn't because it's
Yeah,
on the Genesis.
that's right. Because it's already a miracle that this thing functions at all. Yeah, I mean, but it works pretty well. I mean, even the second game, the Haha Carnival, like the first one very much visually looks like Maniac Mansion. The second game, I think, has a little bit of Sam and Max vibes to it. Like, I mean, the carnival setting already feels a little bit more like Hit the Road. And there, I think they're doing a little bit of that sort of riff. But it's a good game. It's one that I can't believe exists. And is one I would actually say is worth checking out. Now, Ben, I don't know if you know about this. I can't remember if we've talked about this. Did you know there is also a Scooby Doo point and click adventure game for the Game Boy Color?
I did know this. I have not played it. Have you played it?
I've only played a few minutes of it. It's
Okay.
Scooby Doo Classic Creep Capers. But here's what's really going to blow your mind
All
about this
right.
one.
Okay.
If Scooby Doo Mysteries is inspired by Day of the Tentacle, I would bet my bottom dollar. I would eat
Well,
my
that's
hat.
but that's all the way at the bottom.
Here's what you don't know. I've got a lot of dollars on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll be fine. I'll just
All right. Yeah,
only
I
the
was
bottom one
worried.
will be gone. It'll just be a lot of work to get down to it.
Right.
But I'll eat my hat if this isn't the case.
But that hat's disgusting. It's made out of felt and it's covered with sweat.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a really good point. I mean, I guess maybe I will just say I would be surprised, metaphor free, if this. I wish I had a third metaphor. Usually,
No.
yeah, usually the comedy rule of threes isn't bowing out after two, but maybe that subversion of the comedy rule of threes
Yeah, I
is
agree.
actually
I agree.
funnier. Yeah, I mean, you're a professional
Yeah, I am.
jokester.
I just came from a show where no one showed up. So that's
Jokes on you.
yeah.
But
Anyway, go ahead.
what's fascinating to me is I think it's inspired by Maniac Mansion. Like what little bit of I've played. Here's the thing: you're in a creepy mansion
Okay.
and you switch between kids, each of which has a
Okay.
different ability to solve puzzles. So you
Yeah,
have to be Velma for a
but
little while.
all right, so there's a mansion, sure, but how many maniacs?
Well, I mean, there's at least one. There's the bad guy who has to be unmasked at the end. But I mean, it
All
is
right, that does sound like Maniac Mansion
now.
because there is a mansion, there is a
It's got
maniac.
maniacs. I mean,
I clasp my hands together.
yeah, this one is, I think, a Maniac Mansion 'em up, which I don't think they had the same developer. But then when you think about it, like, I think I've got my,
Did they really not have the same
I don't think
per-
they do.
so
Let me check this. Now I have to look this up. Now,
yeah,
everybody listen. Fill
yeah.
time, vamp while I'm Googling.
So who here has heard of Ski Free, huh? Ski Free? Yeah, well, Um, you know, I wish I was free of it in my life. Not fun. Not fun. Terrible ski game.
Ben,
Ski
people love that
free.
game. Don't say that.
Well, okay. Who
Vamp more.
here?
I haven't found it yet.
Okay, who here has heard of the game Commander Keen? I'd be keen to delete that off my hard drive. That
Ben,
game
that's a
stinks.
stone cold classic.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! All right! All right! All right! All right!
Okay, give me one more. Comedy
Okay.
roll threes.
Uh,
I
uh,
almost got it.
okay. Who here has heard of Sam and Max Hit the Road? You, sir. Looks like you have. Well, I wish it hit the road and got out of my house because it's junk. Junk. It's
Ben,
garbage.
that is literally one of the most beloved adventure games of all time. I think we even said it may be like a strong contender for the best of all time.
Well, I said it was the funniest.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to turn off a lot of people. Okay, I've got the answer.
All right.
Are you ready? Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Not the same developer.
Not the
Illusions
same
Gaming Company. Illusions Gaming Company made Scooby Doo Mystery. Published by Acclaim. Scooby Doo Classic Creep Capers. That's the Game Boy Color one. Digital Eclipse Software and published by THQ.
Well, Digital Eclipse are good friends that did they've done all those wonderful Gold Master games.
Mm-hmm.
That upcoming Tetris one looks really cool.
Yes.
I don't know. So wait. So the Genesis one, not done by any of those people. Is there any like personnel overlap?
Oh, that's
like,
a great
if you're
question.
Looking at Moby Game.
That's a great question. Let's see. Credits. Okay. Well, programming on the Genesis version was done by Matt Gilbert, parentheses, Rocker Boy.
Okay. Rocker Boy. In no relation to Ron Gilbert.
No.
Okay.
Which is even funnier too, right? That the lead programmer is a Gilbert on this. Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody here crosses over. I think these are completely independent. But what I realized after I started talking about this is I think that I've probably put the cart in front of the horse, which you can't do that.
No, that's the incorrect place to place the cart.
It goes behind the horse. But I think I've done exactly the opposite.
Bad at this. Do you think that happened a lot? Like for it to enter the vernacular, do you think that people were constantly putting the cart before the horse?
And trying to get the horse to push it?
Like if we're saying this in 2024, when people aren't really much in the business of horses and carts, other than for like aesthetic reasons. Mm-hmm. Do you think that happened a lot? Like,
I bet probably
it must have.
Like like in a small town in America, 8-9 times a day.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me into counting your chickens before they hatch. But here's the thing.
Yeah,
putting the cart before the horse. I guess you could make the argument that Maniac Mansion and by extension Day of the Tentacle is very much inspired by Scooby Doo. Like Maniac Mansion is basically a Scooby Doo story. A bunch of teenagers go into a creepy mansion to solve a mystery, kinda. Yeah. I mean, it's basically a Scooby Doo 'em up already. So the idea that like a Scooby Doo game inspired by Maniac Mansion and Day of the Tentacle, it's like, yeah, those were probably inspired in part by Scooby Doo.
They've said Maniac Mansion was inspired by like the cheesy horror
50s horror movies. I think the main DNA. The bad 1950s bad sci-fi horror kind of stuff makes more sense. But I'm just riffing here, man. I'm just riffing. You know me. But these are great games. These are ones worth checking out, especially the Genesis version. Now, granted, this is also this wonderful time in human history where there was also a game called Scooby-Doo Mystery that came out for the Super NES, and you're like, I love that. The NES
is that one an adventure game?
Why would it be, Ben? Just because it was released the same year by the same publisher with the same title and the same cover art? What would make you think the Super NES version was an adventure game? What about adventure gaming and video gaming in general would make you suspect that they would release the same game across two platforms?
Well, I guess that was foolish of me. This is a whole line. Was it Lion King? No, it's Aladdin. That is
Yeah.
just a completely different.
Yeah, it's like how NBA Jam was a first-person shooter on the Super NES. It's just
Yep.
sometimes you just have to, and it was weird because you're just like running around and you're Dan Marley of the Phoenix Suns and you're just pitching basketballs at other players in the NBA.
Uh,
Thunder Dan, you're Thunder Dan of the Phoenix Suns, and yeah, Thunder Dan Marley. You
so
see, this is my jock energy. That's a good
that's the
pull
jock.
from
We're
NBA
back to
Jam.
the jock energy.
That's that jock
Yeah,
energy.
I'm not a basketball man either. Um,
Wow. Wow.
but there is one console adventure game I would like to talk about. Well, I will talk very briefly about. I mentioned this earlier. I did play Broken Sword on my GBA,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I was. If you look up Broken Sword, very famously, this is similar to the complaint about King's Quest V. Like it has really beautiful art. And like they just had that remaster, I think, or redo
Yeah.
or whatever and that looks also very good. Um, but even the original, like the DOS original, looks incredible. And so it's like squeezing that down into the GBA screen, which at least can display a lot of colors.
Yes.
It, but not like it. If you look at screenshots of the GBA version, it does look pretty funky.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like somebody took it and then like put it into like a save as JPEG on Photoshop and put the quality knob all the way down and like squeezed it
Which is
into a
too
much
bad
smaller. But
because I
here's
think
the oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to say I think the GBA has some of the best looking like retro graphics of any platform. Like if you let a GBA be a GBA, it's a fantastic looking platform. But yeah, again, we try to squeeze something like Broken Sword onto it. That's not
But
going to happen.
here's the crazy thing is that I played it and that was Broken Sword to me.
Yes.
I played it, and also, like I said earlier, I was like, "When were you excited that you had a Maniac Mansion, like that you were able to play a computer style adventure game on your NES?" That was the thrill for me of playing Broken Sword because I had heard of its initial release here in the US was Circle of Blood. I remember seeing ads for it and being like, "That looks so cool." And then it's like, wow, I could play this on my GBA. That means I could play anywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I could play an adventure game anywhere.
A different
Uh,
room.
yeah, and uh, and so even though it was ugly and the music did not sound very good, and the interface was fine because Broken Sword is like a two button adventure game, so
Mm-hmm.
it actually ported extremely well in terms of control. There it wasn't too complicated to do stuff. It was the big problem ended up being is that you can hard lock yourself
Oh
in the game.
no.
There is a glitch where you can hard lock yourself in the game, and I hard locked myself, and so I never finished it like on the GBA. But that was the version that I had, and then later I bought it again on the Wii, which was that not very good, like not the remaster, like the redo or whatever the one before the most recent remake
Yes. There are
of
like 40
it's
versions of this game
it's a
already. Yeah.
it's a game that they just keep porting and remaking, which good on them, I guess. Like,
I'm gonna play it one of these days. You just wait and see.
yeah, one of these
I'm
days.
I'm gonna play
Uh,
Broken Sword.
the other one that I meant to bring up though is Phoenix Wright.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing about Phoenix Wright is that that's not you know how much does it count within the world of this discussion where it's like, well, that is also very much like within the tradition of a visual novel.
And if we open the door to visual novels, they've long had a place on consoles, especially in Japan.
Yeah,
They've been around for a good while, and Phoenix Wright is maybe just the one that breaks through in a big way here in the West.
yeah, and I mean a ton of them have now like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure plenty of them were were here before. I'm just a dummy. The
I
first
like to
one
play
I
them on my
played,
PC 98.
yeah, the first one I played, I remember hearing on forums that this Phoenix Wright game for the DS was really cool. It was this like this Japanese series, and we're finally
Objection!
getting,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I
we're
couldn't resist that.
finally getting it here in the United States. And I remember having to go to multiple EB games to find it. And getting it, and it was again the same thrill where it's like, well, there's an adventure game, the genre that I love. So,
Mhm.
and I could play it in my bed, in my
Yeah.
dorm bed at Jefferson Hall at the University of Mary Washington in Virginia. And that's what I did. And here's the thing: is that the DS is a great for that, because you do have a cursor, you have a stylus, so it
Yes.
actually worked fine. And uh, Phoenix Wright is a game that does have like cursor parts, which are fine on a gamepad, and I've now played it on my PC using my gamepad. But uh, you know, a DS is a perfectly solid platform for an adventure game. And Phoenix Wright, yeah, it is an incredible series.
Yeah, no, it's super
Of
charming. It's
Yeah,
super duper charming. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's a reason why it's so beloved, and yeah, I think in some ways, again, as a series that feels built for the platform that's coming out on. I mean, yeah, it fits in a way that a lot of these others feel shoehorned into, and yeah,
and that's my point. Like the I would also say, you were talking about Life is Strange, and that like the Telltale style of like starting with Walking Dead, which we've covered in an earlier podcast.
all good things.
Uh, uh, I mean, they were like Sam and Max, and was Sam and Max on consoles? Now I'm doubting myself.
The
Well,
WiiWare
season three
version.
had
I
to be.
mean, yeah,
Season three had to be on consoles, and then Tales of Monkey Island and some of the other ones. Strong Bad was definitely on the
yeah.
on WiiWare. We on Wii
WiiWare,
WiiWare. It was
WiiWare,
on WiiWare.
WiiWa,
Um.
WiiWoo.
But anyway, uh, like those games, it feels like it, because uh, Walking Dead feels weird not to play in a gamepad,
Yes.
and so it feels like it was like, to my point earlier. These are like the games that are made with a console in mind. The Life is Strange,
Mhm.
Walking Dead, all the Telltales, all of that. Like that all like kind of feels like it makes sense,
Yeah, when
right?
you're building the games multi-platform, like with multi-platform in mind from the beginning, yeah, there you're probably going to start with, we need a controller friendly interface. We need, yeah, all these other sorts of things that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, those were always meant to be multi-platform. I mean, King's Quest 1 was never meant to leave the IBM PC Junior and compatibles, and it is in many ways tied to that hardware, tied to its capabilities, tied to show that sort of stuff
Yeah,
off from the beginning. Whereas, yeah, you sit down to make a game like Life is Strange or like the Telltale games. Now, granted, those Telltale games get absolutely butchered by the download size restrictions on the WiiWare. It's how you end
yeah.
up with like
On the
4
WiiWare.
character models on on the WiiWare.
Do you
Which is,
hey
yeah,
Jess.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah, Ben,
terrible. This is
yeah, Ben.
terrible. People are gonna turn off
Oh no.
the podcast when they hear this. Hey Jess, do you think that Borat ever tried to say WiiWare?
I think it sounded a little bit like
Stop! 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 This is me pitching in like for Funny or Die or College Humor or whatever in like 20, like 15 years ago. What if Borat tried to say we wear?
Please give me $30,000.
Hey Paul. Hey Paul, we wear. We
Yeah,
wear.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's I mean, and obviously that's just doing Norm's. All right. Anyway.
We wear.
Borat saying we wear. Norm saying we wear. Norm. Oh, anyway.
You hear about this we wear?
We wear. Where we? All right.
We wear, we wear.
Stop. Stop.
This is content, baby. Listen, it says right on my bio, content creator. And what do you think I'm doing right now, Ben? I'm creating
We
content.
need
I need you along for the
cc's
ride.
of content
That's true.
creator.
I've got my little mixing bowl here, and I'm just putting in all the ingredients for content right now. You know, Ben, I don't want to name call,
Okay.
but I think you're a coward.
Well, it seems like the Boo Birds are out tonight.
I think you are a yellow-bellied coward.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
Because before we started recording tonight, after we said our usual prayer, and you know,
we blessed our Shure microphones.
That's right. After we did that,
and we made ourselves an instrument for Christ's humor.
I'm sorry. Imagine our Lord and Savior saying, "We wear."
This has been, yeah.
There you go.
From his lips to my lips. Lips to lips.
Okay. Okay. What I was going to say, man, is before we start this ding dang podcast, you said we were going to talk about Pac-Man 2, and then you blew right past that generation.
We didn't. We said not only that, we said that would be the first thing we talked about. We didn't talk about it at all.
You're a coward.
Because, well, let's be fair.
Feckless.
It's because I didn't want to.
Now, there's only one game in history that earned the number 2 from the Pac-Man franchise. They made so many spinoffs, but only one was good enough and definitive enough to be
not Pac and Pal,
not Pac and Pal, not Miss Pac-Man,
Pac-Man Jr., Pac-Mania.
None of those. Super Pac-Man, not the sequel. The sequel is Pac-Man 2, and Pac-Man 2, the new adventures. Is that? Yeah. It is, I think, arguably,
it is
an adventure game.
It is an adventure game.
Now, Ben, if you famously love this one.
If Satan made it, if Satan was in the business of making adventure games, you might go like, oh, I don't know, what is it, Tales of the Druids or whatever, that one that everybody makes fun of.
Yeah, how about I have no mouth and I must scream? Like, you can imagine Satan made that game.
That's supposed to be a very good game.
It looks really creepy. Satan loves creepy things.
But that's true. But
he's spooky ooky.
Yeah, that's true. Now there's all of that. But what if Satan was like, well, I'm going to design a game that's just utterly not fun to play
for the WiiWare,
and I'm going to make it very inexplicably a Pac-Man sequel. The official Pac-Man sequel.
The only official Pac-Man sequel.
The amount of hubris involved in calling it anyway. So it is an adventure game where you only have one verb, maybe 2, because I think you can give him a power pellet. You have one verb in it, which is that you do not directly control Pac-Man. You fire a slingshot at him or other items on the screen.
He's on rails.
And also, I'll note that the screen scrolls as he's walking with him, who you do not control, I'll note, again. And so it also becomes hard to aim because the screen is moving and you do not actually control how the screen is moving. So it becomes a moving target. And also, Pac-Man will do things based off of his mood. And so if he's in a bad mood, he doesn't do things and he just gets mad and he starts screaming.
He's
He'll
like a
just turn
Tamagotchi.
around. It, it is inexplicable. Everything about that game is inexplicable. It was made in the hell dimension.
It is a complete absence of fun. It's a decent looking game. It looks like the Pac-Man Saturday morning cartoon.
It does look good.
It has a very sexy Miss Pac-Man
Yeah,
that appears
everybody
briefly.
everybody is very attracted to Ms. Pac-Man.
Yeah, that's like a weird like subtext
What
throughout
do you
it.
think that Borat would say if he saw Ms. Pac-Man?
Hello, Miss
Anyway,
Pac-Man. I'm a big fan of your game.
yeah, that's what he'd say. Anyway,
He's very respectful. Here's the thing. I just looked this up, Ben.
right. Yeah.
And just for the record, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of
Lead
like
designer
12
BL Zabub.
I think there were 12 games released between Pac-Man and Pac-Man 2, any of which could have been Pac-Man 2. But this is the one they saved it for. Like, Ms. Pac-Man, obvious choice, best one of the bunch. Super
Well,
Pac-Man, bizarre mechanic, not bad.
yeah.
Baby Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus,
That's when it starts to get weird and not very fun.
Pac-Mania,
That I like.
Pac in Time.
Once again, we're talking about arcade games. I just want to know we've done this. We've barked up this tree.
Yeah, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense, and it's so bad. It is just unbelievably bad.
Here's a question I have. Do you think it was called Pac-Man 2 because I know that at least Ms. Pac-Man was initially just like like not a homegrown, but like the American distributor just started messing with the boards. Like it wasn't official.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
this is
probably
and so this is them. This is
This
just
is
a
Am
theory.
yeah.
This is not researched. I'm never going to research this. I don't care if you tell me the answer and I'm wrong. I don't care. I don't want to know. Don't ever let me know. I'm going to live with this falsehood in my head and in my heart. Even if you tell me the opposite is true, it's going to be in my heart forever. Because in my heart, as the great Ronald Reagan said, I believe it to be true. As he said when he was talking about what was it, arming the Contras.
Yes.
Anyway,
Which was a good decision. I will go on record here right now saying great job, Reagan administration. Ollie North, big shout out. He's a listener. I just want to say hey to Colonel Ollie North.
all right, but anyway, do you have anything else to say about Pac-Man 2, the new adventure?
Ben, I have two things to say.
All right, one
First,
for each Pac-Man.
Yes, it came out for the Wii U. Do you think that's why the Wii U was a failure?
Yes.
And two, have you ever looked at the cover art and noticed how Germany gets a way better version of Pac-Man than the US and Canada?
I haven't looked at the German cover.
I mean, yeah, if you really want to enjoy Pac-Man 2,
cover
you want the German
Pac-Man 2
SNES. Yeah, you want the SNES version. It has a cool Pac-Man. It has like a Pac-Man.
New Adventures.
Yeah.
I've been wrong.
With wait a second. Is this accurate in all versions?
Are you talking about the one where he's got the screamy face?
No, that's what I'm seeing as the American version. It's more like a more standard.
The screamy
Pac-Man.
face looks great. No, I don't like this German. Oh, the PAL version. Ugh.
Yeah.
He's got like a normal face, and the American one, he looks terrified, which is correct. He should look terrified because it's bad.
I like in the German version
how
there's
also
like
came out for the Genesis.
There's like a little asterisk beside the New Adventures, as if to say it's like this isn't really Pac-Man.
But this is it. But let's be real. This is not. Don't be fooled. This is nothing like Pac-Man at all.
Do you think this has ever frustrated
anyone? Yes, people? Many people.
Yes. I mean, people who had to develop later Pac-Man games. Like, how many people who got the license for Pac-Man along the way? How many times has Namco come back to this and thought to themselves, we should make a big new Pac-Man game and make Pac-Man the icon that he used to be, and we will call it Pac-Man 2. That's how monumental our new game is going to be. And then someone's like, I'm on Moby Games right now, and there actually already is a Pac-Man 2.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are probably lots of games they would have loved to call Pac-Man 2, and that ship has sailed. You blew it on this one. Terrible. You nincompoops.
You know what, though?
Boobs.
Even though we ended with what we intended to start with, I think that it actually ended up being a beautiful ending because you know what? it actually ties with all the themes I've been making, which is as the perfect. It was designed obviously with a console in mind. Couldn't make that on the PC. No one would want to play it there either. And so therefore, it's a perfect game and the perfect console adventure game.
Correct.
So yeah.
Podcast over.
Anything else? Well, we get to the wrap.
Ben, I just want to say
Yeah.
adventure games on consoles can be fun. There should be more of them.
Yeah. There's 3 King's Quests we haven't had ported in between 1 and 5. So let's get on it.
Yeah, somebody
Someone
get that.
someone make it for the Philips CDI. King's Quest 2.
A perfect marriage of story and
The
technology.
Atari Jaguar King's Quest 3. So this has been Quest. Please, please, please rate and review. That's the only way anyone ever finds it, because
We're trying
and
to
then
keep this secret.
yeah, you can also watch us on Twitch, ps_Garrick, and also Decaf Jedi. And is there any what are the other things I've already said to rate and review? That's very important.
We want to say thanks to our sponsor,
Yep.
Omaha Steaks. You wouldn't think steaks by mail would be a good idea, but Omaha Steaks is here to tell you maybe.
Yeah, why not? Omaha Steaks, now botulism free. So this has been this has been Quest. We'll be back next week. We'll be back next Tuesday with a brand new Quest, where we discuss the rare prototype of a Infocom game that has absolutely no text and no images in it. It's going to be very exciting. So we'll be talking about that next week. We'll see you then.